Robert F. Kennedy irritates the left by coming forward and saying that he, too, is going to attempt to run for the presidency. So we'll be talking just a bit about what that means, how the left is taking it, which is absolutely entertaining, and what this will do for the field. In other news, Tennessee's House expels a lawmaker, falls short while trying to oust another one for insurrecting against Congress, or helping to lead an insurrection against Congress. You know, the thing that our friends to the left think that all Republicans should be expelled from Congress for, but we'll talk about that and what's happening there and what that means. Idaho signs a law into effect preventing abortion care for minors who travel across state lines with somebody other than their parents. So we'll go over some of that and what that means and what our friends on the left are trying to push it for. And Stormy Daniels comes on to interview and says, she interviews with Piers Morgan and says that, oh yes, no, whatever it is that Donald Trump did with me, it's not worth him going to prison over. So we'll talk about that. It is going to be all this and more, plus things I like and things I hate over here on Contemporary. I was the one flying the balloons. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. This is going to be an interesting night. So I wound up working a half an hour late today, which means that we didn't get started anywhere close to 6 tonight. Although we were close to getting to where we needed to get to. We definitely were, except for the fact that, as soon as I signed on, you know that weird thing that Spectrum does every once in a while where they just tell me that, oh no, you can't have internet, or at least enough bitrate to go back out and send anything out? Yeah, they did that tonight. I looked over and I pulled up the YouTube to go get the link to go share out, and it just said, error, not enough data to do a stream. If you don't bring enough data in here, we're going to shut your stream down. And actually, this is my second YouTube stream for this particular stream tonight because they did shut it down. Actually, if you look over to, like, if you're in Mr. Behavior's Discord with him, you'll see, because he's got a robot that announces my live on Twitch, and you'll actually see over there the fact that, yeah, I got on live, and it's shut down. It shut completely everything down. The good part is as soon as the internet completely shut down and disconnected me, our next channel getting on was actually excellent. So we were able to get in and actually start streaming in a really, really good bit rate. So, but we are here, and I will stay till 8:30 tonight just because of the fact that I started so late here, and we've got so much to go over here. Plus, we got things I like and things that I hate on Contemporary. So let's get into it and let's get started. Before we do, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, and more, as we come together to bring you a better news experience from the common man for the common man. That is right. We get too much of our news, too much of our culture, too much of our religion, too much of our music, our video games, our movies from people who wear suits that cost more than our houses. No more. Go check out great programming. It's going to be a great time. They are awesome people, and they're very insightful to the things that they go and cover. So go check out all that great programming, and let's get down into the news and into the finance to start with today over here on Contemporary. And yes, I did unmute myself today. You don't make that mistake twice in a row, at least. You'll make it twice, but you don't make that mistake twice in a row. Also, by the way, go check us out on Rumble if you prefer, or not Rumble yet. I'm going to do that. I don't know when I'm going to do that because I'm planning, by the way, to go to my parents' house on Saturday. There is a better than 50% chance right now that I'm going to have to work on this Saturday, so that might change things, but I was thinking to myself, if I don't wind up having to work, I'll get up early and get the Rumble set up. So we can do at least a little test stream on that, play around with that, and actually get on to Rumble as well, because I know that's a really popular one. But that actually takes a couple of extra steps. Now that I know how to do it, though, it's going to be a lot easier to do. Thank you to the R-Rated Conservative for teaching me what it is that I need to do with that. But let's get down into the news and the finance. Let's get to the live chat up here and see what we have going on here. Oh, I didn't reset the chat window. Let's do that too. I was going to say, why am I looking at so many chats and not seeing them in the chat window? Oh yeah, that's right. Because I didn't reset it. But I can still see all your chats from over here. Grant is asking if I remember to unmute myself. All right, let's get into it. Because we got a lot to go over here today. But an extra half hour as well. Looking at the Dow, which wound up eking out a barely win day today. The Dow initially dropped at higher than expected unemployment, initial jobless claims. It clawed its way back throughout the day before dropping off again and just barely eking itself over the line for the day, ending 2.57 points above yesterday's close to 33,485.29. Looking in at your Bitcoin, which is at 28,024. That is down 50 US dollars and 60 US cents, or about 0.5%. So a little bit of waver and a little bit of wobble in that market as we see, but not a huge wobble. We'll see what happens with that. The gas prices around the Madison area still holding on that 350 mark, and they're just slightly lower over here. So, but it's the Isthmus is caught up. We got 350 at the BP on the Isthmus, still 330 at the Amoco, and 348 entering. So for the most part, still unchanged on that, but we'll see what happens once Saudi Arabia and OPEC starts putting the squeeze on us. Let's grab one quick from IVD. We're going to go a little bit quick into these because I do want to talk about Kennedy. I really do. Including probably saying a few things that I maybe shouldn't say on YouTube. This episode was actually almost titled something that I thought was going to get me kicked off YouTube. I was debating urging Mr. Kennedy to avoid Lincoln convertibles. But I thought about that and I said, yeah, I don't think that whoever Susan Wojcicki's new counterpart is, I don't think she would have appreciated that one. I think that one actually would have got me a strike. Alright, Dow Futures market rally rebounds into jobs report. Google, Alibaba flash buy signals from Ed Carson. Dow Futures tilted lower after hours along with the S&P and the NASDAQ. All eyes turned to the March jobs report Friday morning, but U.S. stock markets will be closed. So we get no Dow update tomorrow for Good Friday. The market rally closed out deceptively tough week. The major indices were mixed for the week. All were looking relatively normal or healthy, especially with Thursday's rebound off lows. But many leading stocks suffered sharp losses, though they generally found support on Thursday. Some suffered minor damage, while others may need some more repair work. Tesla is somewhere in the middle, following big weekly losses. Alphabet staged a breakout on Thursday, while China e-commerce giant Alibaba flashed an aggressive entry. Google is on the IBD long-term leaders. The Labor Department will release the March jobs report at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Economists expect to see non-farm payrolls up 238,000, down from February's 311,000, but still relatively high. I'd be interested to see, with what they did with the numbers and what happened today, how that is going to shake out, which we'll be talking about in just a second. The jobless rate should hold at 3.6%. Hourly earnings rose 0.3% versus February, with the annual gain cooling to 4.3%. The jobs report follows several other indications that labor markets and the overall economy are slowing. Initial jobless claims for the week that ended April 1st came in at 228,000, far above views for 201,000. Claims for the prior week were revised up by 48,000 to 246,000 amid big seasonal adjustment revisions. Job openings fell in February to their lowest entry in nearly 2 years, but remain relatively high. Private payroll growth slowed far more than expected to 145,000 in March, ADP estimated. Meanwhile, the ISM Manufacturing Index pointed to a deeper contraction, while ISM Services Index signaled much slower growth, with various subgauges reinforcing the weaker economy narrative. After months of cheering any signs of economic weakness, investors in recent days suddenly are worried about the recession risks. Well, that's because the gas prices are about to spike. Banking woes will almost certainly slow lending, providing a further break on the economy. On the futures, Dow futures lost a fraction versus fair value, the S&P edged lower, and the Nasdaq fell 0.1%. U.S. markets will be closed on Friday in observance of Good Friday, which actually I'm surprised that the futures are even being registered right now, because usually those don't open up until 6 o'clock on the night before trading opens. So I wouldn't have, if the market's going to be closed tomorrow, I wouldn't expect the futures to start up again until Sunday at 6. Dow futures will only trade until 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time, not providing much opportunity for U.S. investors to react to the jobs report before Monday, but European markets will trade until noon Eastern. So that is what we have for our markets. Let's look at the layoffs report from Fox Business. I thought I archived that. Okay, we are not going to look at the layoffs report because I didn't archive that. So, never mind. Let's talk about Mr. Kennedy. From CNN to start, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. files paperwork to run for president as a Democrat. From Rashard Rose, Eric Bradner, and David Wright. Environmental lawyer and anti-vaccine activist, which, I mean, there's your first bit of editorializing right there. We're going to get a lot more of that in the next few articles. And the Wikipedia article that went with it as well. We're going to get a ton of this. Has filed paperwork with the FEC to run for president in 2024 as a Democrat. The filing was confirmed on Wednesday by his campaign treasurer, John E. Sullivan. Kennedy will officially announce his candidacy on April 19th in Boston. His campaign said, "Don't go to Dallas. Won't turn out well for you." It might not. I shouldn't say won't, because that's definitely strike-worthy. It might not turn out well for you. The 69-year-old is the son of former New York Senator, U.S. Attorney General, and assassinated 1968 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy, and the nephew of late President John F. Kennedy. And the video. Here's what the son of an American political icon says about vaccine mandates. We're cutting into this one. We can't not cut into this. With what they're trying
to focus on. At the foot of the Lincoln Memorial, the words from the son of an American political icon speaking about COVID vaccine policies in America were stunning.
Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. And even
we want that guy to give us speeches as president? Really? I'm sorry, that was actually, I hope he had a cold or something. That was painful to listen to.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s factually incorrect tirade at a rally Sunday against
so much editorialization. Oh my God. You could have just said tirade and got the same message across, but you have to go in that factually incorrect because we spent 2 years advertising the absolute efficacy of this thing. And we can't be objective with this. Good God.
Vaccine mandates, where Nazi symbols on signs and clothing were spotted in the crowd, is drawing utter scorn tonight from public health experts fighting to get more Americans vaccinated.
He has completely jumped the ethical shark. He has no understanding of what he is comparing. You've got racism resulting in genocide in Nazi Germany, and he's comparing that to being told to produce a vaccine card if you want to get into a sporting event.
But Kennedy's not alone. A few weeks ago, Fox News host Lara Logan compared Dr. Anthony Fauci to the Nazis' so-called angel of death.
He doesn't represent science to them.
Okay, so then we're coming off of Kennedy for this one, but this is probably an old broadcast too, so. Kennedy Jr. is a longtime vaccine skeptic. He has promoted discredited... Oh my God. If I didn't know what was coming from this would disgust me. I don't know what this guy thinks that he's going to do, honestly. I really don't. Because unlike most Democrats, he does not have the mainstream media in his back pocket already. Which, I mean, they're all riding with Biden anyway, so. Probably can't read that on YouTube. So I'm going to skip over the rest of this paragraph. Or sentence, rather. He's also railed against the coronavirus vaccine and has criticized the federal government's handling of the pandemic. In 2019, 3 members of his family, his sister Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, brother Joseph P. Kennedy II, and niece Maeve Kennedy McKean, forcefully denounced his anti-vaccine views in a Politico magazine op-ed, arguing that he was part of the misinformation campaign that's having heartbreaking and deadly consequences. In 2022, Kennedy Jr. invoked Nazi Germany in an anti-vaccine speech at the Lincoln Memorial, which was what we just watched. The previous year, Instagram took down his account for repeatedly sharing debunked claims about the coronavirus or vaccines. Kennedy had tweeted last month that he was considering a presidential run. "If it looks like I can raise the money and mobilize enough people to win, I will jump in the race," he said. His tweet also pointed out supporters to his website. "Let Bobby know you want to see his leadership in the White House," the site says, while asking for donations. I don't know what this guy's audience is going to look like. Because he is against most, in one point or another, he is against almost anybody who could come back in and give him some traction. Alright, what else do we have? Should he go through with his presidential bid, Kennedy would be the latest in a long line of family members to enter politics. His sister Kathleen served as Lieutenant Governor of Maryland from 1995 to 2003. His brother Joe was a congressman from Massachusetts from 1985 to 1999. And more recently, his brother Chris Kennedy was an unsuccessful candidate for governor of Illinois in 2018. The last Kennedy to hold elective office was his nephew, former Mass Rep. Joe Kennedy III. I didn't know he was former Rep. Who lost a Democratic Senate primary in 2020. He's now U.S. Special Envoy for Northern Ireland. Carolyn Kennedy, the daughter of former President Kennedy, is currently the U.S. Ambassador to Australia. The 2024 presidential race is only beginning to take shape, with President Biden expected to announce his bid for a second term. Author Marianne Williamson launched a second long-shot campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination this month. She's gaining ground. On the Republican side, former President Trump jump-started the race for party nomination, announcing his third bid last year. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, the war pig, former Arizona governor, the war pig without a vagina, and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, please buy my book, are also in the race, while other well-known contenders, including Ron DeSantis and Mike Pence, are weighing bids of their own. I kind of just want to see Mike Pence get curb stomped, honestly, because I know he's going to. So, yes, the editorialization has begun almost immediately when we look into what CNN had to say about this. And it doesn't stop here. I think Reuters is actually probably going to be the most objective, and they're lefty-loosey over here from Reuters. Robert Kennedy Jr. to make 2024 presidential bid. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a lawyer and a vaccine skeptic, there's that editorialization again, will make a bid for the White House in 2024, becoming the second long-shot Democratic candidate to challenge President Biden in his expected run for president. And of course, they have to put the long shot in there too, because basically, and while they agree with his chances, the mainstream media, who is all in on Biden and also getting Trump in because they need him to boost their ratings. They need him to rail against them so they can boost their ratings off of that. But it's already cementing in your mind the idea that, he can't do anything. He can't go anywhere. He's a long shot. Let's see. Marianne Williamson, the self-help guru who warned of the dark psychic force unleashed by Republican President Donald Trump, launched a Democratic presidential bid in 2024, or for 2024 rather, in March, calling for justice and love. A longtime skeptic, Kennedy was tapped in 2017 to oversee a presidential panel to review vaccine safety and science at the request of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, a move that drew immediate criticism from scientists and public health experts who feared it would legitimize skeptics of childhood immunizations. In 2021, Instagram removed Kennedy's account after he repeatedly shared debunked claims about the pinko pox in violation of its policies on the commie coof pandemic. The environmental lawyer, a member of the storied American political dynasty, was a nephew of the assassinated President John F. Fitzgerald Kennedy. Kennedy hinted at his presidential ambition in a Twitter post last month asking for help deciding whether he should run for the White House. I'm going to read just a little bit more about him and then I'm going to weigh in on what I think about this. Now, I thought this was going to be the big editorialized one, but I see Reuters and CNN beat him to it. From the Associated Press, anti-vaccine activist RFK Jr. challenging Biden in 2024. They're just going to put it right out in the title. Anti-vax! Anti-vax! Look at him, he's an evil anti-vaxxer. From Michelle L. Price. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an anti-vaccine activist and scion of one of the country's most famous political families, is running for president. The 69-year-old's campaign to challenge incumbent President Joe Biden for his Democratic nomination is a long shot. Yes, they have to put that in there. More than 15 years ago, he became fixated on the belief that vaccines are not safe. He emerged as one of the leading voices in the anti-vaccine movement, and his work has been described by public health experts and even members of his own family as misleading and dangerous. Kennedy has long been involved in the anti-vax movement, but the effort intensified after the pinko pox pandemic and development of the pinko pox vaccine. I'm trying to decide whether or not I can actually weigh in on that on YouTube. I don't think I can. Can I get away with that? That's a hard decision. Because I know they are more than happy to come out and go, misinformation! You can't stream here for a week. His anti-vax charity, Children's Health Defense, prospered during the pandemic, with revenues more than doubling in 2020 to $6.8 million, according to filings made with the charity regulators. His organization has targeted false claims at groups that may be more prone to distrust the vaccine, including mothers and Black Americans, experts have said, which could have resulted in deaths during the pandemic. Oh, please. Alright, let me talk just a bit about this and why his charity doubled in donations at the time. Now, I am not going to say anything about the efficacy of the COVID vaccine. I am not. Number one, I'm on YouTube. Number two, I have always taken a neutral position to that. I myself did not and will not get it. But I have never ever denounced anybody who has felt differently than me about it. I've been very open about the fact that if you want it, go get it. And if you want it and you can't get a ride to your appointment to go get it, you call up your old boy J. Edgar, and your old boy J. Edgar will come in and take you to it. What you do with your body, to me, has always been your choice. What you put into it, what drugs you put into it, what medicines you put into it, what you believe. I've been a big advocate of the right to try. I have been a major advocate for experimental medicines, especially with people who are who have no other avenue to go back and turn to. And even for people who aren't. If you think that some debunked claim is going to save your life, you have at it. Susan, don't ban me. I'm not talking about the holy jab when I'm talking about this. But no matter what it is, whatever you want to put in your body, crack, drugs, marijuana, booze, the football team, the vaccine, etc., that's between you and your doctor, or you and the people in your life if you pick the one that I made in the middle there. With that being said, the mandate movement, the make it happen by law, They force people to do it, otherwise they'll lose their jobs. The OSHA mandate and a host of other things. I have had a major criticism for those movements because they made anti-vaxxers. There was and there are a lot of people out there who had resigned. There were always the people out there that said, well, my Christian faith means that I can't let them go out and vaccinate my kids. There's always been that. That's been around since I was a kid. I know parents who did that. I know a lot of parents who did that, actually. There's been that movement out there. That's always been there. But even with me, I'll come back right out and say why I chose not to take it. It has nothing to do with my understanding of whether or not it will work, how it works, etc. I have said right from the beginning, if it is a good idea, it doesn't have to be mandated. That was my entire reason for deciding not to. If you have to mandate it, it's really not that good of an idea. And if you have to force other people to take it, with the threat of losing their livelihoods, it's probably not that good of an idea. I mean, I'll wait and see. And I was still open, by the way, when they started doing the mandates. I was like, yeah, I've just got questions. I'll still wait and see what's happening with that. And that's all that I can say about what I saw from the medical procedures, because this is a YouTube video, to keep that in mind. But this mandate thing, this is not what fueled Robert F. Kennedy. He's been doing this since 2017. But so many people got on board his organization because the government came down and said, no, if you don't want this thing, we're going to make you take it anyway. We will find a way. And then the Supreme Court came in and said, no, you shall not. I am still, by this point, by the way, in favor of your regular childhood vaccines, polio, MMR. What are the other big ones? I don't even know what the other big ones are, but I'm still in favor of your regular vaccine schedule for kids with things that have been around for years and years. But sitting in the position that I'm in right now and observing what I've seen, I can understand why more people are skeptical of that, even. I can understand. I'm not skeptical of that, but I can understand why more people are, definitely. So that is what they're going to focus on with his, and even here, the latest edit in Wikipedia, which has also been locked down again off this one. The article is semi-protected. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what's at the top right now? Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., born January 17, 1954, is an American environmental lawyer and author known for promoting anti-vaccine propaganda and conspiracy theories. Kennedy is the son of U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy and nephew of John F. Kennedy. You know, it's just me, but unless I was trying to sow a narrative, I would think that he would have been known for, you know, these two things. I would think that these would be the highlights of his life, or at least what he's famous for. Not this. I think in most cases, and yes, I understand that he is actually somewhat known for the I didn't know about the anti-vaccine thing for RFK until today. But you know what I did know? He's John F. Kennedy's nephew. I knew that full well before today. So that's what they're going to go with. Now, as far as where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, under a lot of circumstances, I actually probably could have, before I really started looking into this, just looking and knowing both the Kennedy family political stance and where I was growing up, I might have been able to come back and cross the aisle again and voted for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A well-known, mostly conservative Democrat, Union Democrat, who would have possibly led the party back into a direction, at least, where we could have two viable parties, not just insane leftoids off to the left trying to court people like Robert F. Kennedy and people who would normally follow him, and then the Trump religion and the neocons that are trying to oust the Trump religion. There was a chance in my head before I started looking into this that Kennedy, I think, could have been the uniter. And then I saw this shit. Kennedy, this is from February 15th, 2018. I'm actually surprised this one didn't get scrubbed yet. And says, let's be honest. The NRA is responsible for the MST child murders, as if they pulled the trigger. You were so close. The NRA has turned the Second Amendment into a suicide pact for our children. When do we deal with NRA? Well, number one, the NRA is like the third or fourth gun rights organization at this point. They're not even the big one anymore. They're far from the big one. And number two, even if you're talking about Gun Owners of America, no, they're not the ones that are out there pulling the trigger. Okay, the trending just turned to insurrection, so I actually have to go back and see if there's something happening. Because we might have to go cut to something. Did somebody go take over a federal building? Was it the feds? No, they're actually talking. We'll actually save this this trend search here. We'll talk about this when we get down to the Tennessee stuff, but they are talking about the Tennessee stuff, which is what I hoped that they were. I saw insurrection, I'm like, crap. The feds led Trump supporters into the Manhattan DA's office. Fuck. But no, that's not the case. I've got this feeling there'd probably be a lot more going on if that was the case. Even there are people now that have found this tweet here, because it did get shared around quite a bit today, who are coming and commenting from today. Like this one here is from the day after, no, the same day that he tweeted it, and that this one here, Kaibar says, I loved your ideals until this point. I was debating voting blue for the first time since '08, and just like that, I remember why I don't. So, I don't know who it is that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to appeal to if he does run. Because he's pissed off the libs with his anti-vax, no, actually truly anti-vax position. And they are getting funded by Pfizer at this point. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise. They're getting funded by Pfizer. Or at least their religious figures are. But he's got enough dirt on him back there that he can't pull a lot of the people in the center. Like a lot of the people in the center moved right just because of the gun thing. I don't think he can do it, even with having that name, Kennedy, behind him. So I don't know if he's writing a book or what the hell he's doing. I'd love to sit down. It's just too bad that I've got such a small channel, because I would love to sit down and interview Robert F. Kennedy and see if there's any chance that he's either tempered what he's had to say about guns, or whether or not he can be convinced or talked off a ledge, or can at least politician his way through it with things like this out of here. Considering staying with the Democrat Party, I don't think I could believe that he's actually going to change his stance on that, but I want to see if he can politician his way through, weasel his way through, lawyer his way through it. But that is what we have for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Good luck. You're going to need it. A lot. Alright, let's keep going here. It's 7 people watching, no chat. Say hi if you're here and watching over there. Hi, lurkers. Alright, let's go talk about a party flip while we're talking about politicians. So we're going to start on this topic with a tweet from Jersey, my wife's son, Reliant. I think if you vote for someone as a Dem, and they win as a Dem representing your values, and then they decide to switch parties to go against every thing you voted for, they should automatically be removed and replaced in a special election. Who agrees? And then I had to go back and look and see who it is that he's actually talking about. Apparently, this is North Carolina Rep. Tricia Cottham. Switched parties today. And they're really, really mad because even though Dems were in the minority already in North Carolina, this gives North Carolina, and I believe their Democrat governor, let me double check that. Let me fact check myself on that one. North Carolina governor is Roy Cooper, who is a Democrat. Which means that anything that the legislature passes at this point is law. Because they send it out to Roy Cooper's desk, and he says, hell no, we won't go. If he doesn't pull the pocket veto, which there's a chance of doing that as well. But if he does the outright stamp and veto, and throws it back to the legislature, they come back and say, screw you, we're going to do it anyway. And they are mad about that. Let's see. I like this one. Regurgitating DNC talking points again. Did you get the email this morning? Hashtag Union New Jersey Dad Dopey. How much money have you been paid by the DNC PAC funds today? I haven't called this jerk off out on this enough. Let's do that live on air, shall we? It's been a while since I've tweeted that back out. Although I haven't seen this jerkwad in a while. But let's actually talk about what's happening here. Let's grab one from our friends over at NPR. A North Carolina lawmaker has switched parties, creating a path to stricter abortion laws, and of course, that is the only thing that they care about. It doesn't matter about economics or job creation or anything else. It is only the ability to sacrifice your children to Moloch. And remember, if you want to sacrifice your children to Moloch, the only outlet that's out there that can reliably tell everyone how evil it is for people not to want you to be able to sacrifice your children to Moloch is NPR. So you have to hit that donate button to support NPR. Remember, they're only 10% taxpayer funded and not state-run media, which means they need our money, comrade, to make sure that they can pay reporters to tell you that only the progressive communist position is correct. So, hit that donate button. NPR is never printing reality, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what it is they have to say. A Democrat North Carolina lawmaker announced Wednesday that she was switching to the GOP, giving Republicans a veto-proof majority in the state and paving the way for major legislative changes. North Carolina State House member Tricia Cottham is who she is. Cotham's political career is preceded by a legacy of Democrats. Her mother, Pat Cottham, is a longtime Democrat member of the Mecklenburg Commission and a DNC member. Her father, John, was chair of the county's Democratic Party. A former public school assistant principal, Cottham has previously served as the North Carolina House of Representatives from 2007 to 2016 before returning in January. Her stance on several issues has been consistent with the Democrat Party. She's previously opposed no abortion restrictions, been supportive of the LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYOUTLMP sometimes Y rights, and supported public education in the state. But she's also voted with the GOP recently, including on a bill requiring sheriffs to cooperate with ICE officials, according to reporting from member station WFAE. By the way, I still think that if sheriffs want to not comply with federal authorities, they should have the right to put up their middle fingers and tell the federal authorities to get bent. Even if it's a policy that I agree on, it's stronger border protection. As an elected official, you should be going with the wishes of your constituency. not the federal government and the federales. Early on Wednesday, Kadam announced that she would be switching party affiliation from Democrat to Republican, citing bullying from Democrats as one of her main motivators. The switch comes at a tipping point for North Carolina's legislature and would give the GOP 72 seats in the House, the precise number needed for a veto-proof majority. It already has the numbers in the Senate, meaning Republicans can enact policies over the opposition of Democrat Governor Roy Cooper. It could also precede new legislation on immigration, voting, and abortion rights that North Carolina Republicans may want to pursue. What? Hold on. Now, immigration itself is a federal purview. It's the it's the State Department thing. And as far as border policy goes, I mean, yeah, you've got the coastline, but that's not where a lot of people are coming in from. Let's just make sure that I get my geography straight here. I'm going to say right now that a lot of the problems that are here are not exactly things that can be legislated here, particularly. Now, again, as how they deal with their own catch and release system and whatnot, that's one thing. But as far as immigration goes, that all unfortunately gets decided right here. That precise place where nothing should get decided. So I don't know what it is NPR is trying to scare people into on immigration, except for, the daily Democrat talking points. But that's what they're at. Last week, Cotham's absence, alongside two other Democrats during a vote on repealing pistol permits, allowed the GOP to push the change through despite Cooper's veto, drawing ire from constituents and colleagues. Various North Carolina progressive groups have expressed outrage in statements and online, calling for Cotham's resignation and alleging she misrepresented herself to her constituents. Cottam had to say this during her press conference announcing the switch. "I am still the same person, and I'm going to do what I believe is right and follow my conscience. I've suffered many attacks since I've been up here from Democrats in the party, capital T, capital P, and blasting me on Twitter." She didn't actually do capital T, capital P, but, when it's the Democrat Party, it's the party, just like it was in Soviet Russia. "I've suffered many attacks since I've been up here, from Democrats in the party to blasting me on Twitter, to calling me names, to going after my family, to going after my children. Just like they do to Manchin and Sinema. The party wants to villainize anyone who has free thought and free judgment, has solutions, and wants to get to work to better our state. Not just sit in a meeting and have a workshop after workshop, but really work with individuals to get things done. Because that is what a real public servant does. If you don't do exactly what the Democrats want you to do, they will try to bully you. They will try to cast you aside." So there are a couple things that go along with this. Number one, let's talk about Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin for a moment in relationship to this. Now, Sinema has dropped her Democrat registry. She's an independent. She didn't switch to the GOP, but she is an independent. Manchin, it's actually been questioned whether or not Manchin himself will switch his party affiliation either to go independent, which I think would be political suicide for him, and he is up for re-election this year, or switch to the GOP, which, being a West Virginia representative, actually might be the best thing for him. But as far as Cottam goes, again, the big question and the big panic that's going on right now is whether or not these young women had the ability to sacrifice their children to Moloch while they're still in the womb. With the voting record of Cottam, I don't know if that's going to be the issue, but even if it was, as a Democrat, without switching party affiliation, now, and I understand why she did it, because, it was the constant pushback from progressive groups, because that's what they do. It's a religion. And the progressive side of it, it's even more religious than the MAGA side, if you can believe that. But if she was going to join in the GOP for the veto, she would have done it as a Democrat, too. Furthermore, because she has a pattern of voting and staying against putting in new abortion restrictions, there's an equal chance that she can come back out and fall out of lockstep with the GOP. They welcome that on that party. They don't like it, but they welcome it. Being your own person and saying, no, I can't get on board that veto. Yes, there's going to be political pressure off of there, but it's not going to be to the level that Democrats have to stay in lockstep, as we see by stupid shit like this. And the reaction, WFAE 90.7, Charlotte's NPR news source. So this is also NPR, but it's North Carolina Public Radio. North Carolina Dems furious as Trisha Cottom bails on Democrat Party. From Marshall Terry, and WFAE also has that donate button that goes right to the same place, so make sure you support the communist ideals of National Public Radio. But remember that they are not state affiliated, even though they are taxpayer funded. There was a bombshell in North Carolina politics yesterday. The state house member, Trisha Cottom of Mecklenburg County, is switching parties and will now caucus with Republicans, giving GOP a supermajority in the House to go with the existing supermajority in the Senate. WFAE political reporter Steve Harrison spoke to Morning Edition's Marshall Terry about this political earthquake. Steve, before we get to more on what this means, tell us a little bit about Rep. Cottom. What is her background? Why, yes, Marshall, you could argue that the name Cottom is one of the most recognized names in Mecklenburg politics. Her mom, Pat, a longtime Democrat member of Mecklenburg Commission, and a Democratic National Committee member, Tricia, is a former assistant principal at East Mecklenburg High School, and was first appointed to the legislature to fill the seat once held by Democrat Jim Black, the former House Speaker, who pleaded guilty to corruption charges. She served for 10 years, then ran unsuccessfully for Congress. Then she was elected again in November. She won a seat that includes Mint Hill and a lot of East Charlotte. Yeah, I'm not going to go through and do the entire interview here in NPR voice, but I mean, we can start to see some of the anger that comes out of this. I got to get out of that voice. I'll put myself to sleep. Yeah, we can see some of the anger that comes out of this with, you know, people like this, who is, by the way, paid to tweet this. But they're pissed. And we'll see we'll actually see what happens with her constituency. My guess is that she probably, if she's East Charlotte, she's probably not going to make it without the D next to her name. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's talk about Tennessee, which is why we're talking about insurrection, by the way. More on that later. Starting with Fox News, Tennessee's GOP-led House votes to expel Democrat Justin Jones from legislature for his role in gun protest. From Bradford Betts. Tennessee's GOP-dominated House on Thursday voted to expel Justin Jones from the legislature for his role in protest, calling for gun control following last week's shooting at a private Christian school in Nashville that killed 6 people, including three children. You know, that thing that we talked about last week? That happened on the day... What the hell day did that happen? I know it was something that was distracted from the Trump thing, but the day that we... it was the same day that they voted for the indictment. When Tennessee and Kentucky had their insurrection! Our friends to the left tell us that's how you're supposed to say it, too. Fox 17 Nashville reports that Jones was sanctioned for using the bullhorn when he joined with protesters, which state House leaders called disorderly behavior. House lawmakers are also considering ousting Reps. Gloria Johnson and Justin Pearson. Last week, the trio of Democrat lawmakers chanted back and forth from the chamber floor, with gun control supporters packed in the gallery. Thursday's 72-25 vote marked an extraordinary move from lawmakers that has been executed only a handful of times since the Civil War. Most state legislatures possess the power to expel members, but it's normally reserved as a punishment for lawmakers accused of serious misconduct, not as a weapon against political opponents. Well, you see, and again, some of this goes back to the rhetoric that came following the other major insurrection! And that is the fact that we have heard on all of our social media that Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to be expelled because she was giving tours the day before January 6th, and we saw somebody with weird feet that was planting the bombs, and we know that it was her. We have no evidence, but we know that it was her. And Matt Gaetz has to be expelled from Congress because he was supportive of Donald Trump and the insurrection. And all Republicans need to be expelled from Congress because they're all insurrectionists. That full rhetoric here. And you know what? We have somebody in here who is leading a group of protesters who were holding people literally hostage in Tennessee. Do I have that backwards? I think I might have that backwards. No, that was Tennessee. Kentucky was the one where they actually got arrested right away. And I don't know what you call that, but that, if what happened on January the 6th is what we call an insurrection, then what happened last Thursday is definitely an insurrection at this point. And I was told that insurrections have consequences. We're losing our democracy. This is not normal. This is not okay, Pearson told reporters. The three broke a House rule because they're fighting for our kids who are dying from gun violence and people in our communities who want to see an end to the proliferation of weaponry in our communities. Ahead of the expected vote, White House Press Secretary, token diversity hire, called the expulsion shocking and undemocratic and without precedent, which will actually go, because this is archived, I've got to go through the recount's full Twitter page to go find it, but we'll listen to her, and then we're going to go listen to him too, by the way, in just a bit. Let's see if there's a timestamp on here. 5:43 p.m. April 6th. So I don't think this actually should be that long ago. Come on, let's go find her. I know she's in here. I know she's in here. There she is. Let's listen to the world's most untalented press secretary.
As I was walking out here today, we saw news that Republican legislators in Tennessee were preparing to vote on the expulsion of 3 Democratic officials who stood in solidarity with children and families peacefully protesting for action on gun safety. The fact that this vote is happening is shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent. Across Tennessee and across America, our kids are paying the price for the actions of Republican lawmakers who continue to refuse to take action on stronger gun laws. As I was walking out here today, we saw news that
there you go, the federal government interfering in state affairs. All right, let's listen to Pearson himself. Friend of the show, Mira, providing us with the video for this. Now, she is coming out and saying that Brother Jones should be expelled from the Tennessee Assembly and given the mental health assistance he obviously needs. Bigots like Justin Jones belong nowhere near the legislative decision-making at any level of government. Let's listen. This is prior to the expulsion, I believe. No, this might be after, because this is 4 hours ago, according to this, but we'll find out.
It's sad what you just stated to me, and that's what this is really about. He said, you see everything under the lens of race. When you join this body, you should just become one of us. Just assimilate. That's very disappointing to hear, my friend. And what I told you was what you just exhibited. As the only member of their caucus who is not of the Caucasian persuasion, I said that you put a brown face on white supremacy. That's what I stated.
All right, Representative Jones, Chairman Clemens, you know that that's out of line if you're moving down Chairman Kumar, we've asked people to stay on Jermaine. I asked to stay on Jermaine. He made he made a statement right there. I got it. We're not going down there. You got your response. You have it. Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think he has an opportunity and the right to defend himself from allegations that were asserted on the floor. I think if the record needs to be corrected, he has every right in this hearing to correct the record and state the facts.
So I just want, for the record, you're okay with going off of the resolution and not saying Jermaine? Because I ruled him out of order and made him go to a different direction based on your point of order. Chairman Clemens?
I appreciate that, Mr. Speaker. Of course, he continued to speak. And once the toothpaste comes out of the tube on an allegation like that, I think it's right to correct the record, if only briefly. And I know my colleague will stay on the resolution from here on. But I think those types of allegations deserve a response. Thank you.
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And continuing in response to Representative Kumar.
By the way, I apologize. I had said this was Pearson. This is actually Justin Jones, who I think was another one who was set to be expelled.
Egregious statements. He stated that he has never heard a racial slur. I heard one in this body not too long ago when Representative Sherrill recommended that we should bring back lynching in this body. And so I'll move on. The statement and recommendation of Representative Kumar was that I would not be up for expulsion if I just assimilated, if I just conformed, if I just confined myself, as he has done, to be accepted by this body. He said that you attack chairman. Let's unpack that. Me asserting the voice of my district is what he is referring to. Me ensuring that the rules are followed in committee and raising points of order and points of parliamentary inquiry when the chairman acts against the rules is what he is talking about. Me asserting the voice of the 78,000 people of District 52 to him is an attack. To me is upholding my responsibility as a legislator. And so no, I did not come in this body expecting to be accepted by an operations committee. He expected me to sit there and conform and accept things because that is the only reason that he's been accepted by these members here. But I don't want acceptance from you. I want acceptance from the people of my district. I don't want approval from you. I want approval from the people of my district because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make a change for my community.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, so that is what he has to say there. Let's talk a bit more about what's happening down there. From CNN, Tennessee House expels one lawmaker, falls short of ousting another while third awaits vote. From Dakin Andone, Ryan Young, and Amy Simonson. A vote to expel Democratic Rep. Gloria Johnson from Tennessee's Republican-controlled House of Representatives has failed a week after she and two other Democrats led a gun reform protest on the House floor. The House earlier expelled Justin Jones. Okay, no, so he was the one that got expelled. Pearson is the one that we're still waiting on. Third Democrat involved, Justin Pearson, also faces a possible vote on his removal from office on Thursday. The vote over rules violation for Johnson was 65-30. Expulsion from the House requires a 2/3 majority. The vote for Jones split along party lines 72-25. Protesters flooded the state capitol on Thursday as the legislators were set to take up 3 resolutions filed by GOP lawmakers Monday seeking to expel Jones of Nashville, Johnson of Knoxville, and Pearson of Memphis, a step the state house has only taken twice since the 1860s. There comes a time when people get tired of being sick and tired, Jones said in a speech prior to the vote on expulsion. And so my colleagues, I say that what we did was act in our responsibility as legislators, to serve and give voice to the grievances of people who have been silenced. We call for you all to ban assault weapons, he said, and you respond with an assault on democracy, which is our hegemony. Anytime you hear one of these progressives say, assault on our democracy. It is assault on our hegemony. And Jones added, how can you bring dishonor to an already dishonorable house? So, yeah, he didn't take that very well at all. But he's out. Looks like the other two did survive. I got some breaking news from today. Now, from the way that I've read into this, and I may be wrong on this, we'll find out in just a moment. I found out about this like right as I was getting home tonight. The Daily Wire reporting transgender suspect with Communist Manifesto arrested for planning shootings at schools, churches, and police. From Ryan Saavedra. Law enforcement officials in Colorado have arrested a transgender individual with a Communist Manifesto for allegedly planning mass shootings at schools and churches in the area. By the way, the other one that I planned on naming this particular episode, which I also thought would probably give me a strike from YouTube, was I was going to put both lines in quotes like it's a conversation of, I'm trans! Don't shoot! I'm sure you can see why I thought that Wyzicki or her new counterpart would have found that to be in bad taste. News of the arrest was made public on Thursday, but the arrest happened on March 31st, just a few days after a transgender terrorist massacred 6 people, including 3 children at a private Christian school in Nashville. Interesting. Interesting that this got held. The individual, who the Daily Wire is not naming due to the company policy of not giving notoriety to mass killers or those who allegedly aspire to commit such atrocities. That must be a new part of the rule because it was only mass killers up until 30 seconds ago. Is a biological male who goes by a different female name and uses she/her pronouns. The 19-year-old is charged with criminal attempt to commit murder in the first degree of 2 counts, criminal mischief, menacing, and interfering with staff, faculty, or students on educational institutions. The suspect allegedly targeted Timberview Middle School, Prairie Hills Elementary, Pine Creek High School, and other targets were churches. KRDO reported. A family member turned the suspect into police, telling 911 they had threatened to shoot up schools and had severe anger issues. A spokesperson for the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office told local media the suspect is in the process of transitioning. Police said the home had trash piled up around the house to where it made it hard to walk inside, and that there were numerous containers filled with half-eaten food and mold growing inside, and numerous alcoholic beverage containers lying around the house. The suspect allegedly punched holes in the wall inside the house and ripped a door off the hinges. The suspect allegedly visibly shook his head, indicating yes when asked by law enforcement if he was going to shoot up a school. The suspect said that he had been planning the attacks for over a month and had started planning and writing a manifesto. Evidence collected inside the house includes the suspect's manifesto, the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and a notebook with suicidal ideations. The suspect allegedly researched how to 3D print firearms. Yeah, I'm probably on a list too, by the way. Made a detailed list of numerous people to target, gathered information about how to make bombs, and made commentary about notorious mass shooters, serial killers, and politicians. Well, there's that. Just a side note, I've told this story before, but I mean, I'm probably on a list somewhere too, based on some of the things that are on here. How to 3D print firearms. Well, I've actually been an advocate of not 3D printing firearms, but knowing about machining and how you really can't put the genie back in the bottle, since there's so many lathes, machines, and milling stations that you can do this without 3D printer. But also the fact that I was tooling around on Amazon one night and just looking through the recommendations. I had just got done ordering something on Amazon one night, and I looked through the Kindle recommendations, and I saw a few of them, a couple documentaries, a romance novel, which I don't know why that was there. And I just scrolled over to see what the other recommendations were, and I saw The Anarchist Cookbook. Something I actually don't need, but I don't want to give my FBI agent too much ammunition. But knowing the fact that Amazon thinks that I would want to read the Anarchist Handbook or would possibly try to trap me into buying the Anarchist Cookbook tells me that I'm probably on a list somewhere. Let's read more about this, what happened in Colorado Springs. From CBS 11 News. Teen suspected of planning to shoot up multiple Colorado Springs area schools and churches arrested. This was published April 6th. A teenager is suspected of planning to shoot up multiple schools in Colorado Springs. According to a news release issued by the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office on Thursday, a teen named William Whitworth, who identifies as Lily, and by the way, just a little bit of a reminder there, the fact that all these news outlets that are going to talk about William Whitworth for whatever amount of time that actually comes out to be news again, are going to say William Whitworth. They're not going to say Lily, and my guess is they're probably going to say he, him. Part of the same reason that it took 6 whole days before you even knew about this. Mostly because of what Audrey Hale did in Nashville. The DA's office included the arrest papers, which can be read at the bottom of this article. According to the arrest papers, a family member of the suspect called authorities claiming their sister threatened to shoot up the school. Authorities went on to... I'm not going to give the address out. I'm not going to say it out loud, even though it's printed on the screen. I'm not going to say it out loud. Once entering the home, there was trash piled up. We saw that. A law enforcement officer spoke with the suspect, who reportedly said at one point, "I'm a little drunk, by the way." While waiting for the fire department to show up, Whitworth was asked how much he had been planning the school shooting, and he stated that he's about a third of the way from doing it. Whitworth, terrified that the Timberview Middle School was one of the main targets currently, and other targets were churches. Whitworth was asked what kind of planning he had done, and he stated the layout of the school, active firearm planning, and starting a manifesto. The suspect is scheduled to make a court appearance May 5th for preliminary hearing. Bond was set at $75,000. I would say that it should probably be just a little bit higher, if it was me. I think this is a bit about the manifesto, so we'll skim through this one here. At the scene, deputies spoke with someone at the door who said that someone inside was very upset and punched holes inside walls. Deputies noted in the affidavit 2 holes that appear to be punch marks. Do we have anything on the manifesto? In 2 different notebooks, deputy found more floor plans, a drawing of a clock to use, a detonation device stating remove clock into meals and drive a screw into the desired detonation time on the face of the clock. And is this what they meant when they said making a mockery of the massacre? Whitmore stated she watched a video on YouTube on how to do it regarding the picture of a detonator. Deputies obtained a search warrant of the home and found the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, and more books with notes. Written inside one book had written inside ways I want to die, with a list stating murder, burning alive, freezing, and drowning. Yeah, this sounds like a charming fellow. Let's see. Another book had the following statements found inside according to the arrest affidavit. In short, a brief of the manifesto's contents detailed. A list of the firearms and how to 3D print them. Detailed lists of numerous named individuals to be killed and their intended casualty versus injury rate. Information detailing the creation of improvised explosive devices. The The finalization of locations being Timberview Middle School, Prairie Hills Elementary, and Pine Creek High School. According to the affidavit, one of the notebooks also had a list of various mass shooters, serial killers, politicians, and entertainers with commentary on each. I'm going to, with the exception of one, I'm going to not give them, I'm not going to read there are a couple on here. So when I was first looking through this and skimming over this, I was going to say I'm not going to read the names because I don't want to dox the potential victims, but it actually looks like most of them are public figures at this point. So we have Eric and Dylan with no last name given, who are losers. I'm guessing these are local people who probably made fun of the defendant. Adam Lanza, too smart. Adam Lanza is, I believe, a conservative commentator. I know the name, I just don't know who the person is. Israel Keys, degenerate. Lauren Southern, pathetic. And actually I agree with that, but I have no intent to harm Lauren Southern. Bosch, terrorist. No, Bosch is not a terrorist. Bosch is many, many terrible things. But he's not a terrorist. Donald J. Trump, con man. Bad cops, useless garbage. Stockholm, name Liam K. No indication on who that is. So, that is what happened there. Charming people, these people are. But yes, I can also understand, especially if you're trying to fuel a narrative, why this didn't come out almost immediately. Alright, let's talk about Idaho. We're going to start with, no, this isn't the first time I've used HuffPo. I don't care for HuffPo, but this isn't the first time I've actually used them. Idaho passes law to restrict interstate travel for abortion care for minors. Abortion trafficking is now a felony offense in the state, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. And this is deeply, deeply progressive HuffPo, so they're going to try to spin this in the most liberal way possible. From Alana Vagianos. Idaho just became the first state to implement an interstate travel restriction on abortion care since the Supreme Court repealed federal protections last year. Brad Little signed into law on Wednesday evening bans on minors. Signed a law on Wednesday that bans minors from traveling out of state for abortions without parental consent. The law creates a new felony crime called abortion trafficking, which legislation defines as an adult who, with the intent to conceal an abortion from the parents or guardians of a pregnant, unemancipated minor, either procures an abortion or obtains an abortion-inducing drug for the minor. Recruiting, harboring, or transporting the pregnant minor within the state commits the crime of abortion trafficking. According to the legislation, the crime of abortion trafficking carries a felony offense, punishable by up to 2 to 5 years in prison. The law criminalizes anyone transporting a pregnant minor without parental consent within Idaho to get an abortion or abortion pills, which means it could apply to a grandmother driving a pregnant minor to the post office to pick up a package holding medication abortion. That's a really extreme case, by the way. Technically, legally, that's correct. But that's part of the thing that the progressives do when they want to ensure that the ability remains out there to sacrifice your offspring to Moloch, is that they'll take the outside extreme and say, this is what Republicans really wanted. We're targeting an older brother driving a pregnant minor to a friend's house to self-manage an abortion at home. Well, if the older brother takes the pregnant minor to a friend's house to do the old coat hanger thing, he's a monster. Little clarified in a letter to Idaho's House Speaker that the law will not limit interstate travel for abortion for any adult. Which, by the way, probably at this point most of the progressives have stopped reading this because they saw this and said, oh, the evil Republican! And even the headline is misleading on this, but yes, this is not an adult thing because it's non-constitutional to restrict interstate travel. But trafficking a minor is definitely a crime, and it's constitutional to affect that crime. If you're going behind a parent's back and taking a minor across state lines without the parent's consent, for anything else in the world, you're in some serious shit. I'm going to tell you, the same people who write for Huffington Post tried to get Matt Gaetz expelled from Congress on an allegation of that. Not even something with proof, but just an allegation, just a rumor of that. So spare me your bullshit about this. It's wrong to you when it's convenient to you. But when it's politically convenient, it's something that should be the right of every minor to be taken across state line by some adult that is not his parent. I'm going to grab one. I'm going to skip the other two because I think a lot of it's going to be a review of the rest of this here. But we're going to skip down to the Daily Wire because that adds Indiana to the mix. This is for trans. Daily Wire reports Indiana and Idaho ban trans treatments for minors. From Daniel Chayton. Idaho and Indiana became the latest Republican-led states to implement bans on sex change-related treatment for minors. On Tuesday, Idaho Republican Governor Brad Little signed a bill that outlaws puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and transition-related surgeries for minors, according to Idaho News 6. Violators face the prospect of a felony, and if convicted, they can land in prison for up to 10 years. In Indiana, Eric Holcomb signed a similar legislation that goes into effect July 1st that requires youths taking medication to transition to stop by the end of the year. Suppose if I have a chat that's not married to the rest of the chat up, even if I don't think anybody currently watching, I should probably keep that chat up on the other screen so I can see everybody's chat. Roughly a dozen states have now implemented laws or policies that crack down on sex change-related treatment for minors, with more on the way. For instance, Florida State Senate approved on Tuesday a ban on transgender surgeries for children. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee signed legislation last month that bans sex change procedures on minors in his state. And shortly afterwards, a transgender person shot up a Christian school. We should not allow permanent life-altering decisions that hurt children, he tweeted in October. Such bans have prompted legal challenges and intense criticism. The ACLU announced a lawsuit soon after Holcomb signed legislation in the state. A similar suit is expected in Idaho. So, a couple things to talk about with this. The writing was on the wall with this. Number one, that's the important part. That is something that I have seen coming for a long time. Especially as Trump came in, who was, from the beginning of his campaign, a person who was okay with gay marriage. Even to a point like where I'm not okay with it, but I don't really care either. Two adults do, and their contract with the state that I hate, that's between them and the state, honestly. But even as that widespread acceptance has gained ground among prominent conservatives, the homosexual class stopped being the permanent underclass. As much as they've tried to still claim victimhood, they are not the permanent underclass. And even with the transsexuality, which was again attempted to be astroturfed into being the new permanent underclass that Republicans were going to hate, the same idea came out. Especially among the MAGAs, that, as long as they're consenting adults in their own homes, and I don't agree with it, and I would never chop off my own junk, but, if you want to do that, go ahead. That kind of thing. That's been honestly, the mainline idea among a lot of conservatives. Like, we'll laugh at them. I'm not conservative, but, we'll laugh at them and think it's stupid. I think it's tremendously stupid to try to go back out and live in another body, but it's your choice. Do what you want. It's your body. I said the same thing about the vaccine earlier. When we we were talking about RFK Jr. You want to stick a bunch of hormones in your body and wonder why you suddenly have mood swings and appetites and don't know which way is up? That's on you. It's between you and your doctor, yo. I'm going to say that right off the bat. But the idea behind all of this was never, ever to actually implement or do any of this. The idea was always to get the reaction out of the conservatives, and even especially the extreme conservatives like my friend Steven. They want the reaction. They want them on their podcasts and on their YouTubes frothing at the mouth about this is the destruction of society and how bad this is and how horrible it is. And when they couldn't get that kind of reaction out of people like that, they moved on to the kids. That is why we are in this situation. A logical, thinking, functioning mind would understand that if you are transsexual at age 14 or 12 or 6, or I can't believe you're actually transsexual at 6 because you don't actually know what the difference is, except for the fact that girls dress a little bit differently than you do, and typically at 6 wear their hair longer than you do. Other than that, you don't know a lot of the difference, especially in societal roles and functions. But we'll go back to a post-puberty age. If you're transsexual at 14, you're still going to be transsexual at 18 if it's not a rapid onset thing. So these people would be able to go back and once they reach the age of reason and not be able to hold their parents accountable for the decision anymore, still go back out and do the same thing and inject the same hormones and do the same thing. That's a reasonable, logical idea. But the push came in to trans the kids and make sure the kids can get the abortion and sexualize the kids and do all this screwed up stuff. And I think even a lot of our progressive friends look at this and say, this is probably wrong. To which somebody comes back and looks at them and says, yeah, but look at how unhinged this made Nick Fuentes or Alex Jones, or I don't know, throw another conservative name out there. Ben Shapiro. They're looking for that reaction. Let's talk Stormy. We're going to talk Stormy and Trump for a little bit. Not much, I don't think. We've actually got it. We're flying along, especially since because of technical issues, we're actually going to go till 8:30. So let's go get some more stuff done here. Stormy Daniels says Trump doesn't deserve jail time on hush money charges. From Brian Flood. Technically, I think she said that he doesn't deserve jail time for what it was that he did to her. Brandon Sully, by the way, joined over on Instagram, who I know who that is, and I want to remind Sully that for whatever reason, and I don't know why, DLive has been down for like 2 weeks. It's stuck in a loop where it didn't close, so hit the YouTube link in the description because I don't know why DLive is down. I've been trying to fix it for 2 weeks. But we do hope to see you over on that side. I always enjoy seeing you over on that side. Alright, adult film star Stormy Daniels does believe former President Trump deserves jail time in connection with hush money payments she received leading up to the 2016 presidential election. Piers Morgan asked Daniels if Trump landing in the clink would give her closure during a stunning 90-minute interview that will hit Fox Nation at 4 p.m. today. 3 p.m. today, actually. I have not watched it yet because I had to work late, but specific to my case, I don't think that his crimes against me are worthy of incarceration, Daniels said on Piers Morgan Uncensored, which we actually will watch that video in just a moment. And the MSDNC exploding had a reaction to this. In fact, let's do that right now. We've got a 1:38 video clip here for that. Oh.
Give you any kind of closure with your time involving Donald Trump to see him jailed?
Specific to my case, I don't think that his crimes against me are worthy of incarceration.
If you're the DA, how do you feel about Stormy Daniels giving?
We're going to take this one little clip and use it to go back and screech about. We'll go back over to the Fox News article and read the rest of that, which these people are not going to say.
Interviews like these.
Or show
She's a potential witness.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about whether or not she thinks President Trump should go to jail for this alleged crime. But I would be concerned, as would any prosecutor, about a witness, a potentially important witness, going out and giving interviews. And Alvin Bragg has that problem in spades. He's got Michael Cohen, who frequently goes out and gives interviews. You have Stormy Daniels giving interviews. And Alvin Bragg and every prosecutor in the world knows that when that happens, the defense is sitting there with a legal pad, taking notes, and they may even try to introduce the interview itself in video to the jury if there's anything inconsistent with what they plan to testify about. But, you know, the reality is prosecutors are prepared for the fact that witnesses like cooperating witnesses, which is what Michael Cohen is akin to, those are people that have credibility problems. And so they know that, they're ready for it, but certainly Alvin Bragg is not happy that potential witnesses are out there giving interviews. It would be the same problem if the defense had important witnesses that were out there doing the same. It's unnecessary risk because for Alvin Bragg and for all the litigants here, the only important ball game is the trial, not interviews.
Cope harder.
This morning, Secretary.
All right, let's go read what they left out. I feel like the other things that he's done, if he's found guilty, absolutely, Daniels continued. A bigger problem is that if these allegations against him or whatever allegations that we don't know yet, he is found guilty, the evidence suggests that he is or whatever, and he doesn't. It opens the door for other people to think that they can get away with doing that and worse. She, for the most part, agreed with them. Except for the fact that little part that now that MSNBC wants to come back and cry about and say, oh no, they're going to be soft on evil Donald Trump. Speaking of which, the House has introduced a probe into the indictment. From the Hill, House GOP probe into Trump spurs new battle. From Emily Brooks and Rebecca Bietch. A side battle over former President Trump's indictment is emerging in Congress, where House Republicans fiercely condemning the probe have launched an investigation into Alvin Bragg and his office. The new investigation, added on top of a pile of aggressive House GOP probes into the Biden admin and beyond, has prompted pushback from Bragg and congressional Democrats. They warn not only that it could interfere with an ongoing legal matter, but also question whether congressional committees have jurisdiction to look into state-level case. Those criticisms have prompted direct pushback from House Republicans, particularly in the wake of Trump's arrest and arraignment on 34 felony charges of falsifying business records related to a hush money scheme the former president pleaded not guilty. Speaker McCarthy, who promised a congressional probe into the DA's office after Trump took to social media last month to announce he would soon be arrested in connection with the case, defended the House GOP actions in a tweet following Trump's arraignment on Tuesday. Alvin Bragg is attempting to interfere in our democratic process by invoking federal law to bring politicized charges against President Trump, admittedly using federal funds, while at the same time arguing that the people's representatives in Congress lack jurisdiction to investigate this farce. McCarthy tweeted, "Not so, Bragg. Weaponization of the federal justice process will be held accountable by Congress." The issue is likely to drag on through the rest of the year as Trump's next in-person court appearance is set for December 4th. By the way, what I had said yesterday and the day before about this particular probe is, it still holds true. And in fact, politically, right now, because Biden can't. A lot of people came up and said that Biden should go back and do the pardon because it would be politically expedient for him to do so. He can't. This is a state-level crime that he has no jurisdiction to pardon for. But expediently and politically, if Hochul would do this, with this investigation going, That would. And again, I hate giving strategy to Democrats because I know that they want to come back and use their winnings to come back and try to oppress me, take more taxes out of it, give it away to causes that I don't agree with. But from a strategic standpoint, if anybody is a Democrat listening, hear me and heed what I have to say right now. If Kathy Hochul goes back and pardons Donald Trump right now, this stops this investigation in its tracks. It makes it look like a partisan witch hunt. In a situation where you've stopped a partisan witch hunt. But they're not going to do that because the entire narrative was from the beginning, from basically the moment he came out the escalator of, we're going to go put him in prison. The House has fired off the first subpoena in this investigation. House GOP fires off first subpoena and probe of Trump indictment from Jordan Carney over at Politico. The House GOP on Thursday fired off its first subpoena in its investigation of Alvin Bragg's office, escalating a standoff over the indictment of former President Trump. Jim Jordan is summoning Mark Pomerantz, a former county special ADA, to appear behind closed doors for a deposition on April 20th, according to a copy of the subpoena viewed by Politico. Based on your unique role as special ADA leading to the investigation into President Trump's finances, you are uniquely situated to provide information that is relevant and necessary to inform the committee's oversight of potential legislative reforms, Jordan wrote in a separate letter to Pomerantz that accomplished the subpoena. It's unusual for Congress to subpoena a line prosecutor, and Jordan, in his Thursday letter, alleges that Bragg's office directed Pomerantz not to cooperate with oversight. Bragg's office issued a fire rebuke of the subpoena, painting it as a House Republican's latest attempt to meddle by intruding in the sovereignty of the state of New York, by interfering in an ongoing criminal matter in the state court. Well, you're interfering in a federal election, which the House does have jurisdiction over. This is an in-kind contribution of the Democrat Party, especially with Trump being the leading contender. And you know that too, by the way. But you can play dumb as much as you want. From USA Today, Donald Trump case, courts step up security after death threats to judge and his family, which is, by the way, why I stopped what we were doing when I saw insurrection trending, because I thought that the feds had led some stupid asshole into the federal building. I'm guessing they probably looked a lot like these people. I thought these people were at it again. The Justice for J6 rally that nobody went to. Hey guys, you and you and you. Are those guns in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? From David Jackson. The New York system said Thursday it is constantly assessing security in light of the reported death threats of the judge handling the case, criminal case of former President Trump. Yeah, they're called feds. You don't have to monitor them. Go over to McLean, knock on their office door, say, hey, come on, man, cut it out. Yeah, I know you're trying to entrap Trump supporters, just you're going too far. We got to step up security now because you're saying that, and yeah. Tone it down just a little bit. Threats surfaced after Trump attacked Justice Juan Merchan over his handling of a previous case, despite warnings from a judge against comments that could incite violence. Lucianne Shelfin, the Director of Public Information for the Unified Court System in New York, said security is a constant concern. Over the past weeks, we've continued to evaluate and assess security concerns and potential threats and have maintained an increased security presence in and around the courthouses and throughout the judiciary, and will adjust protocols as necessary, Shelfin said. He added that judicial chambers have been getting predictable, harassing, and defamatory calls and emails, all of which are being assessed. Probably not any level more than what they typically get, because, let's face it, the people that are going through the system a lot of times have friends. Gang members, especially in New York. This is not a unique thing to the Donald. And I do have to say, full disclaimer, I have to say this to the other side, to the Trump people. If you are sending threats to this judge, knock it the fuck off. You're already on a list for being active on social media in support of Donald Trump. Don't give them more ammunition, you dumbasses. But I got a feeling a lot of these are feds. An interesting one from Dershowitz. Over on Fox News, Alan Dershowitz warns there's no chance Trump gets acquitted in New York City. Jurors don't have the courage. Hung jury, maybe, acquittal, never. I actually think that's a fair assessment. I would actually be more inclined. I would most expect to see a hung jury myself, and I don't have anywhere near the legal chops that Dershowitz does. Famed attorney Alan Dershowitz warned Wednesday that former President Trump has no chance of getting acquittal in a liberal New York City. In Manhattan, District Attorney Alvin Bragg's unprecedented legal case. There's no way he can get a fair trial, he told Fox News' Sean Hannity. Yeah, that guy. I don't care if Jesus, Muhammad, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and Thurgood Marshall defended Trump in New York. He wouldn't win the case. Hung jury, maybe. Acquittal, never. Dershowitz's comments came on the heels of Trump's Tuesday arraignment, where he pled not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records linked to a 2016 hush money payment. Earlier in the Hannity segment, Dershowitz elaborated on his belief that Trump faces an uphill battle. Yeah, one of the hard parts of this is that this really should, given both the fact that the judge himself is an active donor to Act Blue, and this is a political trial. There should at least be a venue change for this, though, and the fact that this particular judge has tried the Trump Organization once before. There should at least be a change of venue. Now, given the fact that the indictment has already been voted on, I would advise against just throwing it out entirely, or urging for it to be thrown out entirely. Take your day in court, but this should not be done in this venue. It reminds me of when I was a civil rights person in the South. Even if you didn't spit on the sidewalk, the sheriff said you spit on the sidewalk and charged you with it. There's no chance you would get acquitted by an all-white Jim Crow jury, he said. Though Dershowitz said he didn't want to draw comparisons between the Jim Crow South and New York City, he explained that finding 12 jurors with an objective view in the Big Apple is next to impossible. Finding 12 jurors anywhere in this country that are unbiased against the former president and the constant subject of being spammed in the media is going to be nigh impossible. Even the Amish are in full support of Trump. I don't know how you get a fair trial in this. I really don't. And, well, because they can't stop talking about him. Go for just a little bit more here, because I think we're going to talk about what happened in Florida a couple days ago. And then we'll do things I like and things that I hate. Biden review blames Trump's decisions for chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal as it transmits reports to Congress. Why? Because of course they did. From Kevin Liptak, Jake Tapper, Natasha Bertrand, and MJ Lee. President Brandon's admin blamed conditions created by President Trump for the chaotic withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021, according to a summary of findings. from an admin-wide after-action review released on Thursday. The 12-page summary document does not overtly admit any mistakes. Still, it acknowledges certain lessons that have been applied since, including the speed of evacuating citizens and allies. And it cites intelligence that provided overly rosy projections, the security situation, and notes. Biden followed recommendations from his military commanders in executing the withdrawal. Overall, the summary's principal description is of a difficult situation made more onerous by Trump's decisions when he was in office. Including entering into an agreement with the Taliban requiring the U.S. troops to withdraw by May 2021. Classified findings from the long-awaited reviews by the State Department and Pentagon were also transmitted to Congress on Thursday, fulfilling a White House pledge to provide the information following the bloody and chaotic withdrawal, which included a deadly bombing at Kabul International Airport that killed 13 troops. In remarks describing the summary of the report, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby defended the Biden's decision to withdraw and stressed the work the admin did once they took office. Despite having his options curtailed, President Biden led a deliberate, rigorous, and inclusive decision-making process that was responsive to facts on the ground. He focused keenly on the need for proper planning. So, I mean, if you didn't think they were going to blame Trump, really? I knew that. Let's talk about what happened in Florida, because this is an interesting one, and Randy Weingarten got absolutely panned for this. They got a reader context, which I think she's probably still figuring out that this can still happen if she turns the comments off. She locked down the comments right away, even though she got ratioed in the quote tweets, for good reason. But Randy Weingarten tweets out, and this is, by the way, a reminder, this is the head of the American Federation of Teachers, the largest teachers union in the country. Now DeSantis is arresting his opponents. Florida Planned Parenthood Action tweets out, breaking! Tallahassee Police Department just arrested dozens of peaceful pro-choice protesters at City Hall, outside the Florida Capitol. This includes Senator Leader Book Florida and FDP Chair Nikki Fried, former gubernatorial candidate, was probably all but excited and giddy to be arrested like that. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. The city of Tallahassee has released a press release about this that states that the protesters were allowed to use the premises during normal business hours. The protesters were warned at sundown, and those that did not leave were arrested. And also, by the way, on top of that, on top of what was written there, another note to that is this was City of Tallahassee that did this. This was not state governance, because this was at City Hall and this was city police that did this for a municipal violation, by the way. Let's read. Nikki Fried, Lauren Book among 11 arrested at Florida abortion protest, reports say. From Caitlin Bracescorn and Beth Rousseau. Nicole Fried, the chair of Florida's Democrat Party and Florida Senate Democrat Minority Leader Lauren Book, were reportedly among 11 arrested at an abortion protest in Tallahassee Monday evening. According to the Tallahassee Police Department, demonstrators from across the state peacefully protested Senate Bill 300 in front of City Hall. Located across from the Florida Capitol, the bill would ban abortion after 6 weeks. City officials said they've been working with protest organizers for more than a week. However, they didn't allow the group to camp overnight due to their size. Officials said the group could use the property during normal business hours. City officials said that they warned the protesters multiple times throughout the day. They said the protesters acknowledged that if they refused to leave at sundown, they would be subject to arrest. Yeah, I'm sure Nikki Fried, the opportunist of always, was out there at the moment the sun went down and said, "Arrest me! Guys, get it on camera! Hurry, hurry, arrest me!" Because then you wind up with propaganda like this. Officials said after sunset, the majority of the crowd left the property. However, officials said 11 people refused to leave despite numerous requests. The 11 people were arrested for trespass after a warning, officials said. A video from Florida Planned Parenthood Action shows the group singing "Lean on Me" prior to several officers walking up to them with a final warning. We didn't watch the video. Like, we saw the video, but I didn't turn the audio back on. Let's do that. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. Why I didn't do that?
It won't be long till I'm gonna need you.
Hello, DMCA.
You are trespassing after warning. This is your final warning. You'll be subject to arrest. We're not strong. You are subject to arrest if you not leave. It's final warning. It won't be long. Shame! 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 Shame!
This is a peaceful protest.
We were permitted to be here. We were permitted to be here.
One last little bit of DeSantis news, then we'll go into things that I like and things that I hate. Which we don't have a huge list of tonight. Not huge like we usually do, but we have some. From Fox News, DeSantis' signature tips U.S. in a majority constitutional carry nation with new Florida gun rights law. From Emma Colton. What do you want to bet that Evers is not going to do something like this in my state? I wish that he would. But I live in this place called reality, where I know better. The U.S. now has a majority of states with constitutional carry laws on the books after Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law on Monday that eliminates the requirement for an individual to obtain a permit to carry a concealed firearm. Right after my friend John, who refused to ask the state for permission to concealed carry, moved out of that state, by the way. That makes it even funnier. The NRA applauds Florida for becoming the 26th state to adopt the vital constitutional carry legislation, which nobody cares what the NRA has to say. This NRA spearheaded initiative, I'm going to call bullshit on that too. Well, except I guess maybe not, because that's an easy one to win for them. Well, we're going to go into a deep, deep red state and go demand gun rights. We don't even have to go to court for that. Yeah, that sounds like that's right up their alley. Bet you won't do that in New York. It empowers Floridians to exercise their Second Amendment rights without undue bureaucratic barriers, affirming the fundamental right to self-defense. NRA ILA Interim Executive Director Randy Kozich exclusively told Fox News Digital in a statement. Based. Good for you, Florida. Still never going to happen here, which is lame. Let's do a couple things I like and a few things that I hate. Thing that I like, number one. I've said this before. I've talked about this gentleman before. Legislatively, I think he's a moron and a jackass. Mental health-wise, you have to remember, I still have the soft spot for that. I sat in this particular chair, the one I'm sitting in right now, with the terry leather and the I need to take this outside and throw some oil on it. But with the terry leather and the creaking bottom in it and everything else about this chair, I sat right in this chair for 24 hours for suicide prevention. Because I am a huge fan of mental health services, especially if they're promoted and funded by private charity. I like all of them, but I especially like the ones that are funded by private charity. But Fetterman has been released from inpatient treatment for depression. He is out And he's talking about this. From Craig Howey. Lurch Fetterman has returned home after more than a month of inpatient treatment for depression, the Pennsylvania senator said on Friday. I'm so happy to be home, the senator said in a statement following his release from Walter Reed near D.C. I'm extremely grateful to the incredible team at Walter Reed. The care they provided changed my life. Fetterman plans to return to the Senate the week of April 17th. After the congressional recess, he began receiving treatment at Walter Reed in mid-February. The senator's doctor said Fetterman's depression is now in remission, according to his statement. And as I said before, now, the term and the time that he lost is between him and the people of Pennsylvania. And I don't think that he should be in the Senate, given his mental condition. If he's fully in remission, I've yet to see and assess where his position is on that. And John Fetterman and I probably do not see eye to eye on numerous things. In fact, I know we don't. We especially don't see eye to eye on the government's role in my life. Mostly because he believes that there is one. But as far as this goes, I mean, I've always said, it's with Fetterman, there were a lot of people that said that he might be dead, that he should go off and, do things that I can't say on YouTube. But I'm going to say right off the bat, I want to see John Fetterman live a long, healthy, happy life, or as happy as he can be with the depression that he has. I do want to see him held accountable and taken out of office by those in Pennsylvania, his constituents. I will never be one who will come out and say that I want to see him removed over this kind of thing. That's between him and the people of Pennsylvania. And he is calling a light to this too. I would love to interview him for this, in a rare one that would be across the aisle. CBS reports Senator Fetterman on depression, recovery, and making up any lost time from Jane Pauley. At 6'8", Fetterman is still a formidable man despite 2 serious assaults on his health in less than a year. His stroke and depression treatment. He talked there with Sunday morning anchor Jane Pauley for 2 days before being discharged last week. I will be going home. It will be the first time ever to be in remission with my depression, he said, and I can't wait to see what it really feels like to take it all in and to start making up any lost time. To colleagues he'd seen lost, even at his swearing in. Later, David Williamson recognized major depression. A neuropsychiatrist, Williamson had been treating Fetterman. He had markedly reduced motivation and drive. The RPM in the brain, how fast you think and how clearly you think, is very substantially degraded when patients get depressed. That's fair, by the way. It's reversible, asked Pauley. It's certainly reversible, yes. So, good on him. I do again hope that he gets outvoted on everything and his agenda doesn't come to pass, but again, that's between him and the people of Pennsylvania, not me. I just thought this was funny. And they did give this back, by the way. This has been updated, but it's funny to hear the whining and the screaming about the blue check. Twitter pulls checkmark from main New York Times account. Coming to ABC News from the Associated Press. Twitter's removed the verification checkmark from the main account of the New York Times, a former newspaper, one of CEO Elon Musk's most despised news organizations. The removal comes as many of Twitter's high-profile users are bracing for the loss of the blue checkmarks that helped verify their identity and distinguish them from imposters on the social media platform. Musk, who owns Twitter, set a deadline of Saturday for verified users to buy a premium Twitter subscription or lose the checks on their profiles. The Times said in a story Thursday that it would not pay Twitter for verification of its institutional accounts. Well, you don't pay, you don't get the benefits. I don't have a blue check mark. You know why? Because I don't pay for Twitter. Although I'm not going to be like the cringe leftoids now and begrudge the people who do. It's your $8 a month. I might laugh at you a little bit, but that's between you and Elon. I'm very, very between you and the person you spend your money with oriented. Early Sunday, Musk tweeted that the Times checkmark would be removed. Later, he posted disparaging remarks about the newspaper, which is aggressively reported on Twitter, and on flaws with partially automated driving systems at Tesla, the electric car company which he also runs. Honestly, I'm here for this. I know that he's going through and he's trying to make the changes to try to get and convince more people to buy the blue checkmark. I'm still not going to do it unless I can go write it off my taxes. That is one thing that I might do, is go try to see if I can get it and write those $8 a month off my taxes as a business expense. Other Times accounts, such as Business News and Opinion Pages, still had either blue or gold checkmarks on Sunday, as did multiple reporters for the news organization. Well, again, the cat fight is fun to watch, and a reminder that if you don't pay the fee, you don't play the game. Alright, and the last one that I have for things that I like actually moves into the first thing that I hate, oddly enough, because they're on the same vein. So, one of the things that we do a lot on this channel is we talk about the music that I like and I like to listen to, and for a while now, I've actually been oddly and distinctly surprised over the fact that music has moved somewhat back into the 20s. Somewhat. I mean, it's still electronic beats over, but it's the same kind of backbeat and the same kind of rhythm that the flapper music had, which is something I very much enjoy. You guys have all heard my conversation about postmodern jukebox and using modern music to go back and change it to sounding like old-timey music. Ragtime, 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, things like that. I love postmodern jukebox. So, I mean, and this is not exactly like a recreation of the flapper movement, but there's definitely, you can hear the inspiration in the backbeat and the front beat. And yes, even though I understand that the sampling comes from a 90s song, they built this up. So this is, Earl is the artist name. I think it's Katie Earl, if I remember correctly. She just goes by one name, Earl, on YouTube and all of our other platforms. But this is All That Glitters. We'll listen to a selection of this. But then we will turn around and listen to a selection of another song, because, of course, the good songs that come out like this are going to come with some bad songs and some slutty songs and some songs with bad messages, but are still in that same style. So let's listen to All That Glitters from Earl. It's an interesting take in the arrangement, and that's what really drew me to it. And there was a Pandora playlist that was kind of a mashup between semi-pseudo video game music and then more music like this. Glitch Hop is the name of the Pandora station if you ever want to go listen to that. And this is not the only kind of song that I've heard of, but this is the one that stood out in my mind. But when you get a song like this and you enjoy it, then sometimes you get the ones that you don't like as well. So in kind of the same vein, artist that I'd never heard of until the other day, Emmeline. And I actually, because I heard the music behind it and thought to myself, oh, this is like that All That Glitters song that was out there. But listening to what she has to say in the lyrics, Like, if somebody else wrote different lyrics over the song, I would probably like it. But the song itself kind of sucks. Let's listen to Emmeline Strutt and kick off the things that I hate. On a really good beat. Something that I do enjoy that a lot. Like, I hadn't listened to this. Like, this has been queued up for things I like and things that I hate for a while, these two. I've been waiting for 4 weeks to do these, but just my things I like and things that I hate have been so jam-packed. This is the first time that it's been lean enough that I could actually do something with this. So much filth in these words, though. Great beat. Love it. Really enjoy that song, other than the lyrics. If you enjoyed what you heard, other than the lyrics, obviously, Emmeline is the artist name. Go check her out. That's not an official endorsement. I can't stand her. I like the music, though. All right, let's do some more things that I hate. The next pandemic is coming. And I think this is mostly overblown at this point, but we're going to talk just a bit about it. CDC warns of Marburg virus after deadly Africa outbreak. You know, one of my favorite songs on the Video Game Study Lounge playlist was playing while we were listening to that filth over on YouTube. And that makes me sad. This is another one of my favorite songs too, by the way. But I'm going to go back and listen to that song after we get off air. All right, CDC warns of Marburg virus from Sarah Rumpf. The CDC is urging travelers to Guinea and Tanzania to be mindful of contracting the deadly Marburg virus. Because you might bring it out and start a new pandemic worldwide, the CDC is also sending personnel to Africa to assist in stopping the outbreak of the disease. The Marburg virus is an infectious disease that has a high fatality rate and, according to the World Health Organization, has epidemic potential. Yeah, we've seen this movie before. And isn't it funny that we're getting right into primary season too? This week, the CDC announced that it's sending its National Center for Emerging and Zoonotic Infectious Diseases to respond to outbreaks in Guinea and Tanzania. This week, the CDC urged travelers in Guinea and Tanzania to avoid contact with sick people, healthcare facilities in the outbreak areas, and to watch for symptoms in 3 weeks after leaving the area. Why does this sound so familiar? In February, the Equatorial Guinea announced the first outbreak of the virus in the country has since counted officially 9 cases, with an additional 20 probable cases, all of whom have died according to the WHO. About 1,800 miles away across the continent, Tanzania is also reporting a Marburg outbreak and has confirmed 8 cases, including 5 deaths, according to the WHO. The virus is a rare and deadly disease. Why have we heard this before? Which causes fever, chills, muscle pains, rash, sore throat, diarrhea, weakness, and unexplained bleeding and bruising. The Marburg virus can be spread through blood or body fluids of a person infected with or who has died from Marburg, according to the CDC. We're going to do this again next year, aren't we? Be prepared to go run and buy toilet paper again. Other thing that I like today, or hate today. Bounding into Comics has given us the latest piece of racism. D&D to remove half species from player's handbook claims the entire idea is inherently racist. You heard it here, folks. By the way, this might actually have inspired a new Pathfinder game. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but there may be a game that I'm playing in. In their latest step forward on their long march to post Lost Prophets, Wizard of the Coast has revealed that they will be removing the concept of half species from the D&D Player's Handbook on the grounds that they are not comfortable, including an inherently racist concept in the game. This forthcoming update was first announced publicly at the recent D&D Creators Summit, an event where, as Wizards of the Coast gathered a number of notable personalities ranging from game developers to content creators and provided them with a sneak peek at D&D's upcoming release. Following a rocky start, the summit marred with various technical difficulties, the publisher eventually hosted a demo of their upcoming D&D virtual tabletop, after which D&D lead rules designer Jeremy Crawford, a senior story designer Chris Perkins, and studio director Josh Herman appeared for a Q&A with the attendees. Eventually, the post-demo Q&A turned to the topic of Wizards of the Coast's ongoing efforts to sanitize D&D, beginning with a question of how exactly the publisher makes use of their sensitivity readers. We don't send everything to the same people all the time, Crawford explained of their content review process per a summary of the event posted to the EN World Forum by user Brimmels and a recap provided by content creator Daniel Kwan. Different reviewers have different areas of expertise and experience. Everything gets sent to at least 2 people, sometimes more. The old inclusion review process had holes in it because they would only send out what they thought would be a problem. Now everything is sent out, so we aren't guessing what might be a problem. So some progressive out there said that half species were racist, in spite of the fact that there's enough similarity out there that you can half the species. And the fact that there are literally races out there. Three-quarters of the game design is dependent on racial differences. Biden, by the way, is moving forward with banning incandescent light bulbs in the coming weeks. No, I read that wrong. From Thomas Catanacci, no, that's going the other direction. The Biden admin is preparing to implement a sweeping nationwide ban on commonly used light bulbs as part of its energy efficiency and climate agenda. The regulations, which prohibit retailers from selling incandescents, never mind. From selling incandescent light bulbs were finalized by the DOE in April of 2022 and are slated to go into effect on August 1st, 2023. More government! The DOE will begin full enforcement of the ban on that date, but has already urged retailers to begin transitioning away from light bulb type, and in recent months begun issuing warning notices to companies. The lighting industry is already embracing more energy-efficient products, and this measure will accelerate the progress to deliver the best products to American consumers and build a better and brighter future, Jennifer Granholm said last year. According to the DOA announcement, the regulations will save consumers an estimated $3 billion a year on utility bills and cut carbon emissions by 222 metric tons over the next 3 decades. Look. We gotta talk about this. Now, there is a good chance that if you are not using, at the very least, a CFL, but other than that, an LED for most of your stuff, I have made fun of you at some point because they're easy and cheap, especially with the cost coming down on LEDs, easy and cheap ways to cut major amounts down on your energy bills. It's a no-brainer. It's just like I said with the vaccine earlier. Good ideas don't have to be mandated, and yet they're coming about to try to mandate good ideas. I switched to LED years ago. In fact, when I moved back into my place in Redacted in 2018, that was literally the first thing I did. Was I went to Amazon and bought I counted the number of bulbs in the place and bought enough to change them all out to 100 watt equivalency LEDs and changed every single one of them in the place immediately. And my table lamps are all LED. Every exterior light in my truck is LED. By the way, this is going to go to automotive bulbs too, which I just changed my parents' headlights in one of their trucks to LED. It's an easy switch. Like, we're not going out here and saying, okay, well, we have to go put entire new fixtures and everything. Now, if you're changing things on the same circuit, you will have to change everything on that circuit. Because otherwise, the excessive draw of the incandescent that's on the same circuit is going to, it will burn out the LEDs because there's a differential in energy draw in that. But it's you want to do it. That's the thing. It's not like this is a hard thing to do, but now they want to come back out and mandate it. And I mean, there are going to be people who just don't want to do it. We make fun of them for being in the past. But you should still have the choice of how you want to go back and light your home. Plain and simple. So, there you go, right there. More government. Alright, and the last thing that I hate today, I want to talk about this. Now, I don't talk about Dylan Mulvaney because, well, I'm going to be completely frank with you. Dylan Mulvaney is doing an act, again, to get conservative commentators to talk about him. And he's got Ben Shapiro wrapped around his little finger. I've been, because of the legal expertise of Ben Shapiro being a Harvard lawyer, I have been consulting Shapiro's show for things like, I did the, what were some of the ones I did? Other than, I know I'm listening to him over the Donald Trump arrest. I know that I did that, but there were a couple other ones where a couple things in the news cycle where I said, we really need to hear about the legality of some of this stuff in a lawyer. So I've been consulting with Shapiro, but like, I hate listening to him because once you get down to the end of the episode, for like the last 20 minutes, it's all about Dylan Mulvaney. Which is why Dylan Mulvaney is doing this, for the attention. But I want to talk about the Bud Light thing. Not necessarily in the light of Dylan. Yes, Dylan is doing a mockery of women. Talking about the Barbie pouch and hiking in high heels and crap like that. But I want to talk about this Budweiser thing for just a moment. And it actually dovetails into what happened on, allegedly, the CMA Country Music Awards the other night too, which I don't watch award shows anymore. I stopped that a long time ago, but I've got a couple questions on this, on who it is that these business leaders are playing to. So when I look at something like Mulvaney, a lot of the people who are in this progressive movement are soy to the fact that they don't drink beer because beer is yucky. Now, I think a lot of them are probably going out there and trying this for the first time. And I don't know if they're enjoying it or not, but they're doing it in support of Budweiser because so many evil conservatives are walking away and making big videos about this and telling everybody how they're never going to buy Bud Light. In fact, I've got a video of that and the cringe that goes with it from somebody who is 40 years past being able to call himself a kid. By the way. But Dylan Mulvaney has been named an official spokesman of Bud Light, with even having a can with his face on the Bud Light can. Actually, I could probably say she for Mulvaney because Zer, them, they, them, they, there got bottom surgery. Those proportions are wild on the thing, though. But I've got to ask at this point. The vast majority of the Bud Light drinkers in this world are rural, country, probably mostly semi-conservative, at least in personality and lifestyle, even if they don't care to push their lifestyles on other people, setting them apart from conservatives like me. Or, yeah, that's the way I am. The vast majority of people who are drinking Bud Light are white, straight male. Probably about 95% of them. The vast majority of people who are watching the CMA Awards are 99 to 99.5% white, straight, male or female, conservative, and probably have a bunch of kids at home. And then Kelsey Ballerini, who I have heard of because several of my previous girlfriends have listened to modern country, even though I don't myself care for it. I couldn't name one of her songs if I tried, but I am aware of the name. Decided to run out with a bunch of drag queens to protest the Tennessee kids drag queen law on the stage at the CMA Awards, which meant that she had to get approval and planning from the people who were engineering the CMA Awards. It's not just the fact that she's going out and doing this protest, it's the fact that the people who are trying to appeal to people who listen to their music that are mostly white, straight, conservative people signed off on this and said, this is a fantastic idea. I will give Ballerini credit on one aspect of this with what we have here in the image off of this. One little bit of credit off of this is that, I mean, these men, because drag queens are men, they're not bottom surgery, they're not trans, they're men making a minstrel show of women, didn't do the over-sexualized hype that they normally do. In fact, the only person who is in a dress that is overly suggestive is Ballerini herself. These men, pretending to be women, are dressed probably more conservatively than anybody else who sang on that stage that night. Probably, because I didn't watch it, but... we're not seeing the demon horns, the devil horns, but, I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to talk to with this? Because it's not your core audience. Many of whom have probably moved on to the 90s country playlist on Spotify, which I love, by the way. We get a lot of mileage out of that one at work. But they're doing this for the reaction and the pushback and to get their names in the headlines. And Kid, and I say that loosely because he's 58 years old, Kid Rock decided to make a statement about the Bud Light side, at least.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible. Fuck Bud Light. Fuck Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
Mind you, he purchased... Is that 4 12-packs? Yeah, he purchased 4 12-packs and paid money to Anheuser-Busch to come back out and say, fuck Bud Light and fuck Anheuser-Busch. Brilliant marketing strategy. I wonder what my cousin is doing. I have a cousin who has a 12-pack a day Bud Light habit. Well, I think he switched to Busch Light, but that's still Anheuser-Busch. He's got a 12-pack a day habit. I wonder if he switched to Miller. Wouldn't that be the thing to see? I don't know. Let's head out of here. I have to ask my dad. I don't know. One of the things with boycotts that I've always said is that if you boycott and stop buying everybody who politically disagrees with you, and this goes to people on either side of the aisle, by the way, if you stop buying things from companies that disagree with you on anything politically at all, you'll starve to death and probably be homeless. So do keep that in mind before you go in and start making a public boycott. Let's head out of here for the day. All right. Thanks, everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat, everybody who came back and hung out with us. It was a bit of a slow night tonight, but I also got started late. People expect me here by 6, and there's just no way to get that through, especially with the tech difficulties at the beginning. But we will be back here tomorrow. Our Friday will be a Good Friday. We've got a couple things left over to talk about here from the previous week, but for the most part, I think we are just about done with everything on the stack here. So we'll be back here. We'll see what happens in the next 21 and a half hours on the news for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And if you ever do come in and lurk, get at least a message in so I can come back and say thank you on the Monday night program when we look at the live chat as we go. So it's going to be a good time. And watch the Twitter and the Discord for the time changes. And if you're not in either, there are links in the description for both. Otherwise, we'll see you here tomorrow for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.